Our keynote speaker today is Assemblyman Mark Leno. And while Dale Gieringer of California NORML will introduce Mark proper, my brief introduction puts it into some national context, which is usually what we do when we're at the national organization level. And some quick research tells me there's about 7,000 local, county, state, and federal elected politicians in the United States. We are going to hear from the legislator in the United States who has tried to pass more pro-cannabis law reform than any other legislator I know in the history of the United States. Now, then again, Mark is representing the beautiful city of San Francisco. And we spoke earlier is a continuing theme you hear in podcasts and NORML and all the writings about local mores and values. Now, it's very likely Mark would not be introducing these bills if he was from Enid, Oklahoma. But he is an aspiring politician with good health and good fortune. Many of us will have the opportunity to support all the way through the process of gathering power, convincing individuals of changing the laws. He's a very aggressive, astute politician. It's amazing to watch his work so far away in Washington, D.C. He's made his mark in other areas, mainly in gay marriage and many other areas that concern San Franciscans. But for us here today, there's nobody who's tried to represent our issues, the myriad issues, better than Mark Leno. And I'd like to ask Dale to come on up and help explain the significance of Mark, not only here in California, but again, around the country. So thank you, Mark, for doing this.
Thank you indeed. Mark is indeed, I think, the leading, most effective legislator on behalf of cannabis reform in California, which is, of course, the cutting-edge state on cannabis reform in the country, and we applaud him for that. Thank you, Mark. I first got to know Mark, I guess, when he started out in politics on the San Francisco Board of Supervisors, where he was early on involved in sponsoring legislation to help establish dispensaries and establish a realm for dispensaries to operate in San Francisco, and to try to resist the considerable DEA threat that existed at that time. He sponsored, amongst other things, an initiative, Measure R, that tried to investigate the possibility of the city establishing a legally licensed medical cannabis grows. That initiative passed pretty much overwhelmingly. Although the cannabis grows has not actually come into existence yet for reasons beyond our control. But Mark moved on then to the Assembly, where he's done even more wonderful work at a higher level. And one of the first things he did was sponsor a resolution opposing the federal war on medical marijuana, the DEA raids, and specifically the arrests of people like Ed Rosenthal and raids on Mallory Corral and so forth. And not needing the governor's signature, those resolutions fared well and were approved. Since then, he's also sponsored an industrial hemp bill. In fact, he sponsored an industrial hemp bill twice. And each time the bills were approved by the state legislature, but unfortunately they were vetoed by our cigar-smoking, ex-pot smoking governor, Schwarzenegger, which has been, I gotta be, it's been a real pattern with this governor. But Mark was not deterred, and he came back this year with another bill, I think one of the most important civil rights bills, actually, regarding medical cannabis that's come up, to guarantee employees' rights to use medical marijuana, to protect them, to protect the right of employees to use marijuana like any other controlled substance, and not be subject to discrimination via drug testing, basically, which is what was going on. And as many of you may know, we had an adverse Supreme Court ruling in the state of California that basically said falsely that Prop 215 was not intended to protect workers' rights. And so to redress that decision, Mark proposed this bill, which again, glory hallelujah, passed the legislature, and again, unfortunately, was vetoed by our cigar-smoking, ex-pot-smoking governor.
Cuban cigars.
Well, fortunately, Mark is going to be with us some more. He is moving over to the state senate, and we look forward to probably another 8 years of service there, where hopefully he can pursue some of these issues further. But you know, Mark is not really known so much for his work on the cannabis issue as actually on gay rights and on gay marriage. And there he has a similar story. You know, he had 2 landmark gay marriage bills that he managed to get through the California legislature. Both of them were vetoed by the governor. But gay marriage is now the law in California.
Yes.
So Mark has been proven right. I think he's been proven right. He put it on the calendar.